We will be finishing up Darwin's chapter on worry and then starting the one on dressing our soul on page 89, which is an invaluable meditation that will reward you for a lifetime. In this practice, Baba asks of us only 4 seconds of remembrance a day. And in exchange, he promises that we will eventually feel his presence all the time, whatever we are doing. Also called Sahaj Dhyan, meaning natural meditation, Baba first introduced this practice to the 18 Western men invited to Meherabad in 1954 during what became known as the 3 Incredible Weeks. The first thing in the morning, before starting our day, we dress our soul with Baba. At noon, again around 5 o'clock, and just before going to bed. Just in the length of time it takes to adjust your tie, Baba told the men, what does it mean to dress your soul with Baba? Baba left the interpretation of that to us. Some picture their body being infused with a warm presence. Others might think of it as being wrapped up in a warm down coat worn in cold weather. Or it might be a deep delving into the innermost blissful realm of the spirit within. It is entirely individual and unique to each one. And as Darwin says, it has the potential of markedly raising the consciousness of those who do. Someone might ask, how could just 4 seconds a day result in such a profound experience? No meditation teacher would get any substantial results in their students with such a simplistic, brief daily practice. But it is God himself asking this of us, and Baba is very clever in introducing this. Darwin used to say, for example, as we approach 12 noon, we might check our watch or clock, and it's only 11:15. Well, why not dress our soul then in case we might be too busy later and forget? And if we miss noon and it's 12:20, do it then. In this way, at various times, other than the 4 seconds of remembrance Baba asks of us, we are dressing our soul with him. Eventually, it becomes such a rewarding practice that we begin doing it any time of the day. And before you know it, a series of moments is strung together like beads of a string, and we move forward having his presence throughout the day. Baba is such a sneaky sweetie, as Mansari, one of the women Mandali, used to call him. And inevitably and unexpectedly, who Baba is to us and where our soul is goes on expanding and deepening in a most natural way.
Jeff, you are on mute.
Beautiful. Thank you, and beautifully read. And it seems, I mean, some of us have been doing this for the last 55 or 60 years, and it really it turns out exactly what Baba said. Eventually you have his presence with you at will at any time during the day. That's the he gives that promise, and it in fact turns out to be true. I'm just going to put Goer on the spot because she's been doing it for ages. What can you say to that?
That's very true, Jeff. It started, as you build up as it as a habit every day. You consciously try to remember him, of course, first in the morning, then at noon, then at 5, and then it comes to a point where all of a sudden I'll be doing something now, and I'll look at my watch, and it'll be exactly 12 o'clock or exactly 5 o'clock. And it'll be as if Baba's saying, hey, it's time to remember me. So I'm reminding you. So, it becomes that, yeah. And as you say, it's just he comes to you in so many other ways during the day. So this is so true. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes you can feel a wave of that warmth from him, his presence,
That's right.
eclipsing your little petty self.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, okay, so Jacima, how about that for where we left off? Now, um, I think it's on page 86. Wait, who is this where we left off?
Yeah, Jeff. Like Diane sent me that we stopped at this page
Okay.
last week.
Yeah, okay, so that's just a short little bit. Um, let's see. Let's have. How about Bob? Do you can you get this on your computer well enough to read?
Yeah, I've got the book here too, so I'll
Okay,
read
good.
through the book. It's a little easier. Causeless cheerfulness. Aim toward causeless cheerfulness, which is bliss. It is our real state, and it is our destiny. Baba says that bliss exists everywhere. Everything is bliss. If you want causeless cheerfulness, allow it to predominate within yourself by lifting your spirits and being cheerful. This is a step in the right direction. I once knew a middle-aged man who had a humble job at a supermarket. He would often say, I'm always cheerful, even when I'm miserable. Detachment such as this man had is an essential part of attaining causeless cheerfulness, but it is something that happens automatically, and we should not concentrate on it. Instead, get attached to real bliss. Keeping our spirits up, being of good cheer, elevates our consciousness. It changes the illusory environment of our minds. It lifts our spirits up to our heart and illuminates the heart center. And if it is carried out seriously, it brings us into the kingdom of God. We begin to think in terms of timelessness rather than existing on a timeline. We experience a sense of fulfillment and completeness. We come to realize that we are spirit.
Anyone, anyone that does can anyone ever have the experience of causeless cheerfulness? I mean, for a period or so.
But
Uh,
Jeff, what I'm thinking is that Baba really liked the idea of being cheerful because it helped other people. It was our opportunity to make other people feel of good cheer because it's kind of catchy, as he said. And what I realize is that anything that can put a smile on my face, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be something humorous or, I mean, it doesn't matter. I will take advantage of that and start looking cheerful. It's really looking cheerful. I don't know if I am cheerful or it doesn't really matter, but just I think it's useful to other people that would be around me or looking in my way.
yeah, beautiful. Um, I remember. I don't know if this. Oh, well, yeah, I remember. I was in the refectory with Darwin one time. He was about 95 at the time, and I said, you know, Darwin, you have a lot of rare wine in your cellar, and if you die, it's just going to go to your relatives. I think we should bring it up now and enjoy it. I said, you've been with Baba for the last 70 years, focusing on him day in and day out, hour by hour. What is your experience now? And he said, just as you breathe in and out all day and you don't say, now it's time to inhale, now it's time to exhale, eventually life just unfolds. And you're not trying to get things to go this way or that way. And so consciousness is freed up at the level of the world. It goes up to the level of the spirit and out to the far corners of the universe, and you live in and through everyone. I mean, this was like he was not one to share what his experience was, but that lead in kind of somehow Baba gave me a lead in to get that out of him. But meaning that, you know, he was in that causeless state of bliss and joy because his consciousness wasn't getting dragged down by trying to manipulate things in one way or another. He kind of let go of life. I mean, that's the kind of causeless joy, and that's awaiting for us eventually. Like, you know, like the Undertaker. I remember Adi saying, "How does an Undertaker sign his his correspondence? Yours eventually." So that's our fate. Okay, so shall we go on? Anything to say to cheerfulness? I mean, it is certainly wonderful. People that are kind of naturally cheerful really enhance an environment always. And
I'll just say that Baba has given me cheerfulness for the last few months. It has just been, things just seem delightful. I mean, there just seems to be an air of happiness, of acceptance. And that doesn't mean that there aren't some serious things going down. But like with my son, older son, for example. But it's got to be a gift from Baba. It's not something that I can gin up or put on, and it's not like a smile on demand. It's within the heart. It's in the body. It's from Baba, and there's no other explanation. But things just seem okay, and I attribute it to Baba.
beautiful. No, that's the victory is his. Okay.
Dan or Terry?
Well, I'm going to talk, but I'm going to talk about her for a moment. She's so goddamn cheerful. And she has to remind me to lighten up because it's not worth it anymore. We have Baba. And when I get tight, and I am the opposite of cheerful, and I get reminded, it lightens me up literally in a nanosecond. But I'm not there yet. It's not as organic. We're going through something a little tough right now. Something that we planned might not work out the way we had planned it. And I've been guilty of making comments about when there are delays or changes in direction. Baba has something else in store, and I just have to trust that because I've seen it happen before, that it's not always the way I had wanted it. Yet, but then a lot of times it becomes something I hadn't even dreamed of. And even my kids said today, who is not a Baba person, you know, you might not know the reason for something happening, but it's okay. And I wanted to say, who am I talking to? But it was really, really wonderful. And so I have a lot to be grateful and cheerful about.
And all you have to do is look over at that face of Terry, and it'll change your mood.
I agree.
A living service. She's, you know, I mean, the plastic surgery really worked, you know. No. Okay, go for
May
it. Yeah.
Did you? Oh, hi, it's Marion. And I just wanted to make a comment because this subject delights me because in my decades of growing up and being a child growing up, I was always a spunky kid, but I tried to conform and fit in. So I became a people pleaser. So then, time goes on, and there's this thing about always being cheerful. So I learned from being the people pleaser, I need to express my lower self in a healthy way. So I have some complaint sessions throughout the day, about 3 I schedule in my to-do list with Baba, where I complain to Baba so that I'm not in the mask of cheerfulness, that I'm really, truly in my cheerfulness. Because when I read scientifically, because Baba said he's bringing metaphysics and science together in these next 600 years, is that I read about what chemicals are released when I smile. And it's amazing. It reprograms my brain. So getting grounded in the science of a smile and being cheerful helped me inhabit it and know the difference between my nice girl mask and my true cheerfulness. So I just wanted to say that because I'm delighted that I've been given this opportunities. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah. Now that there's
actually Radha has had her hand up. Radha?
she looks cheerful almost all the time. I haven't.
Well, this is kind of related to cheerfulness. It's one of my favorite moments with Baba. And it was when before I was a teacher of children, I did acting, and I was doing a play at the Taper in LA called Talking With. And this was a group of, like, I don't know, 8 to 10 women who did monologues. And I was so blessed to do this wonderful monologue called Twirler, where she's a baton twirler who sees God when she twirls. So, of course, I was thrilled to do it. It was a great group of women. And, they would start off and in these monologues, and people would be laughing, and we got great reviews. It was just a joy. But one night I came to the theater, and everybody, all the actors, they'd had a bad day. A lot of unexpected things were happening. Somebody had applied for a mortgage and it had gone through. Somebody's child was very sick. And I was just, I would do my yoga to prep for the show. And I just became aware that there was a lot of suffering that was going on. Well, the play began, and I think I ended the first act. I can't remember quite exactly. But normally you'd sit in the green room and you'd hear the audience laughing. And of course, it would make all the actors that were waiting to go on be so excited to go and be in that energy. But this particular evening, this wonderful actress goes out. She does what she always does. She's terribly consistent. And there is not a single sound in the audience. The house is dead. And for actors, that is a scary thing, because you're there in that energy with the other people in the room. And so one after one, these women came out and did their monologues, and there was nothing. And so I decided to do something that I'd never done before. And that was to go and stand off stage in the wings before I performed my piece, so I could get used to this energy, because I knew it was going to be really different. But as I was standing backstage, I felt Baba's presence so much. And I realized that all of these people in the audience were having a really bad day too. They weren't happy. They were suffering. And I felt this great sense of love for everyone in the audience. And it's almost like I was looking at the audience through Baba's eyes. So when I came out, when it was time for me to come out in my little baton twirler outfit, before I started speaking, I just took a moment. I don't know how long it was. It could have been a full minute, which is a long time to be silent. But I just looked across the audience at everyone silently and loved them and smiled at them and just looked at them as part of Baba. And then I opened my mouth and I had this funny accent. It was kind of funny at the beginning, and then you turned it around. And the minute I started speaking, everybody started laughing hysterically. And it was such a gift to me from Baba, because it was why I wanted to do the piece. I felt clear it was why I'd gotten to do the piece. But it was that literally experiencing in that moment the power of just silence and love and being fully present and being joyful in a situation which would terrify most of us as actors. So that's my story.
Right. What a beautiful. Wow. And I mean, it's incredible how much can, how much just one person can do. And when Baba comes in there and overshadows us, you might say. Beautiful. Yeah.
Anthony?
Hey, J Baba, everyone. Yeah, it's neat. I had kind of a cool epiphany with cheerfulness, probably sometime this year. I don't know. It's just interesting everything they talk about in a lot of the, like yogic writings about transcending the world and, these transcendental states of consciousness. And I mean, I'm not so sure I understand what all those things are. I haven't really been in any of those states. And I don't know. I realize that when I'm in a cheerful mood, I just don't feel like I'm psychically entangled in all the things going on in the world, all the stuff going on in politics, all of just the heavy things happening, negative things with other people, negative things within myself, like the cheerfulness. I don't know. It's really, I felt it as this feeling of like cutting the entanglement with all that heavy stuff and just like floating above it. And in this really simple way too, not in this like mystical, transcendental way. It's just, I would notice as I'm going about my day, like, wow, I'm not getting into these weird arguments and entanglements with people. Like this joy comes from, something not in this world, because like most people aren't in it most of the time. So I don't know. I guess just this last year, I really felt that freedom that comes with being cheerful and not being caught up in all these things that are happening in the gross world. So yeah, kind of a neat thing.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, part of it is taking things personally, the circumstances that, and, but it's very hard to get over that. I wrote down something I wrote down. I call my state a state of unfelt joy. What does that mean? I've gone back there to check and see if joy is there, and it's always there when I go back in there. So I stopped going in there. I mean, I'm confident that joy is behind me. So I call my state a state of unfelt joy. I'm no longer kind of going back and making sure it's there and is it going to be there next time I come. I just gave up on that. Hey, Sonober put on something, she posted something in the chat. I wonder if she could read it. Nat King Cole's suggestion of cheerfulness. Sonober,
Oh,
you up for?
geez, Jeff, you put me on the spot.
Uh-oh. You want me to? No, you read it. It came from you.
Hey, I was hoping you'd sing it.
I don't know it actually.
Okay, I'll read it. Pretend you're happy when you're blue. It isn't very hard to do, and you'll find happiness without an end whenever you pretend. Remember, anyone can dream, and nothing's as bad as it may seem. The little things you haven't got could be a lot if you pretend. You'll find a love you can share, one you can call all your own. Just close your eyes and Baba will be there. You'll never be alone. And if you sing this melody, you'll be pretending just like me. The world is mine, can be yours, my friend. So why don't you pretend? Hey, Baba.
Beautiful. Thank you. That comes all the way 10,000 miles away, folks, from Mumbai. Okay, so let's go on to the next chapter. How about Lauren? I think we go to dressing our soul.
Dressing our soul. Meherabad is the imperishable sweetness of divine love. We are surrounded by immeasurable sweetness of the immeasurable sweetness of his being, of divine love, which is the true nature of all space, which permeates us completely through and through, which is indeed our own true nature and being. Darwin Shaw. As we grow little by little in spirit, we find that we can no longer tolerate some actions, thoughts, and feelings in ourselves anymore. We also become more aware of actions, thoughts, and feelings that are compatible with our inner being. More and more, we want peace of mind, which means more harmony, upliftment, more light within, and deeper values. We see that it is not so much accepting a doctrine as weeding out things we had not known were affecting us. We are working toward divinity, divine reality, divine love, divine truth, and that is above all laws. It cannot be dominated or superseded by anything. This is what Baba has and gives, and what sustains him. And when we come to him, his divinity also sustains us. He lifts us out of the lesser laws that govern lower levels of consciousness and brings us under the law of divine love, the lawless law, which means that we would be entirely free. Of course, we have integrity of purpose and do not use this as a loophole for indulging in things that are wrong. Rather, it lifts us out of the wish to do anything that is other than the purest. Loving, trusting, and feeling intimate with the Master gradually raises our consciousness and creates an open channel. It is slow to happen, but it is real work that is going on to raise our consciousness. This is why we are spending our lifetime making efforts to decondition our subconscious. It is so that we can stop limiting the Master or God by our false ideas about him and ourselves. He helps us see through these false notions. This knowledge deepens into insight. We can see how our impressions ensnare us and how our sanskaric patterns have become a drag on our consciousness. Whether we are conscious of it or not, once we have tuned into the Master, we are receiving help from him. With his help, the impressions dissolve, the heart center opens, and love flows. The crowning jewel is the flow of divine love. Everyone should feel equally close to him. No one should feel left out. A relationship with him is equally available to all. He does not play favorites. All are meant to be intimate with God. Wow.
Wow, that's the whole thing right there. Anything,
Yeah.
wow. I mean, anyone to speak to that?
Ron?
I have a little analogy for part of what was said in that section, which is what is the main ingredient in polluted water. And I think all of you will agree with me that it's pure water. Pure water is what polluted water primarily is. And if we have polluted water, it's not a matter of bringing something to it to change it from polluted water to something else. Like you can't put a tablespoon of something to make it sweeter or anything like that. What we just need to do is filter it in various ways, all kinds of different ways of filtering out the pollutants so that we end up with what it really mainly is and always was. This is pure water. So that way we don't really have to find the secret ingredient. We just have to go through those filtering of the things that are polluting our personalities and our lives, our activities.
Yeah, excellent analogy. I mean, Darwin was really very assertive about this, that we are actually in an ocean of love, and if we just kind of remove enough stuff, we'll realize that we've been floating around in it all along, and it's just, removing the pollutants, so to speak, and so we can get to I mean, it's not like love is waiting at the end of the tunnel here. We're right in the middle of it, but we got the binoculars turned around the wrong way, and it all seems far away. But okay.
Rich?
Well, I think the very first paragraph, we find that we can no longer tolerate some actions, thoughts, and feelings in ourselves anymore. I've been experiencing some of this, and the question that inevitably comes up is, this isn't very fast. I don't seem to be changing very rapidly, and what I mean by that is, I'm thinking of walking my dog and walking down to the mailbox, this kind of thing, and I realize that I'm out in the world, I'm greeting the world, even if there's no people there. But on occasion, I can watch my thoughts, and sometimes my thoughts want to go critical. We'll call it negative, right? Critical. So as soon as they start going critical, I realize I'm not enjoying my walk anymore. I'm indulging in these thoughts. They don't serve much purpose, not really. And so the only way I can get out of it is I have to think of Baba. And when I think of Baba, I sort of go into the neutral zone where I begin to realize I'm supposed to be enjoying this. But that first paragraph, that's a good description.
Yeah, very description of your state too. That's great. Yeah, you're walking around in a magnificent scene, and then those thoughts come along and change it. But here's one thing that Erich used to say from time to time there in Mandalay Hall. He would say spiritual progress is very, 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 very gradual. 4 varies. You know, I mean, how could any American tolerate 4 varies for anything? But it's very slow, it's glacial. But after many years, you find out the things that used to be hung up about 30, 40 years ago are just not that problematic anymore. So over time, you see what Baba has been doing in us. Okay.
Diane or Terry?
This is a quickie. Sometimes I'm a fan of acronyms and sometimes I'm not, but this one I really liked. It's EGO, EGO, edging God out.
Yeah. Yep. That's good. I like that too. And yet, I do feel, you know, a lot of the Baba people kind of beat up on themselves and get on their case. But I mean, out of Baba, you know, had been here in 1,200 years, and there are 12, you know, 8.5 billion people on Earth, and we are here remembering him. He is so thrilled, even if you're having a difficult time living the life, he is thrilled that that you're noticing him. They're looking his way. You got a photograph on the wall because, I mean, there are lovers of God in the world, but you know, God comes so rarely, and so few actually looked up from their newspaper, from the news, from the magazine, whatever, to see him. So it means the world to him. I feel that's my feeling. And if you're having a difficult time living a life, you know, don't get down on yourself. We've all been, especially in our youth, we hit some of the rapids, you might say. Okay.
Bob?
Yeah, the beginning of the very last paragraph was very meaningful for me. It's whether we are conscious of it or not. Once we have tuned into the master, we are receiving help from him. And that's a great thing for me to remember, because I'm not, yeah, there are times when you know, I'm out for a walk or whatever's going on, and whatever happiness I might feel suddenly turns to a joy that just I didn't expect. And I take that as a gift from Baba. But you know, it's not like I live in that place all the time. So it's worth it really for me to remember that even when I'm not aware of it, you know, he's there helping out. So, okay.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Radha?
What I really love about Darwin's book, and I just keep reading it and rereading it because I think he's so helpful in, first of all, helping us realize what it was like to be in Baba's presence, but also to just constantly remember that. And I love this concept of dressing your soul. But it's like it seems like everything always needs to come back to Baba. And it reminds me of the last thing that Eric said to me when I left him in India in 1988. He grabbed me by the shoulders and he said, "Think about God. Everything else is trash." And that's the t-shirt that I want to wear. Because it really kind of, we keep trying to still find all of these intellectual answers in these dilemmas that we have in our lives. And yet I find such freedom lately in going, I think it was Gohair's quote at the end of our last session, where it's like, think about me and I'll take care of the rest. You know, it's just, if we could just do it more and more.
Yeah. and the negative things that happen to you, you can react to them, or they can drive you back into Baba's presence. You know, you can take them either way. It can take you away from closeness to Baba, or it can drive you into his presence. You know, that's
Was
okay.
it Darwin that said it's not happening to you, but it's happening for you? Is that somewhere in the book?
I think
Or
that
did I read that somewhere else? But I
Paula
think that's
Paula Roper might have the trademark on that. Paula,
okay.
let me see if she appears. She's there on Paula.
It's
She's the one that brought this saying. Give us that saying.
um I think I think she did it better than me. Um well, nothing happens to me, everything happens for me.
Yeah.
Everything. It's Baba's compassion. You know, if things don't work out, there's a reason for it. And sometimes we can see where we were going to have a wreck down the road, or somebody else did, and we would have been there. And, those kinds of things. But anyway, it's like, with really serious, hard things that happen, it's Baba protecting us always. And
Yeah.
and it might not feel like it, but that's just what's true.
Meaning it could be averting something that would be worse.
Yeah.
Baba has softened things. Yeah.
Yeah. So he doesn't do things to us, he does everything for us.
Yeah. And she has a trademark on that. So, anytime you quote it, you put Paula Roper. Okay, let's see. How about Josh? How about are you in a place where you can read?
Yes, I think so. If you can hear me,
Yeah.
I would love to read. Yes. Dress your soul. In 1954 in India, Mayor Baba had hinted for days that he was going to give us a special practice that would allow us to experience his presence with us all the time, while working, at leisure, or whatever we were doing. He called this practice Sahaj Dhyan. When he said that, I thought, wow, this must be some very profound Eastern practice, something very mystical. And so the day came when someone brought up the question, what is this method you were going to tell us about? He proceeded to explain. Sahaj Dhyan, he said, means natural meditation. The first thing you do when you get up in the morning is dress your soul with Baba. And then at noon, do the same thing again. Dress your soul with Baba. And then at 5 p.m. or thereabouts, do the same thing again. And finally, just as you retire at night, dress your soul with Baba. It only takes a few seconds, Baba said. Like just adjusting your tie. Giving him those few seconds a few times a day has the potential of markedly raising the consciousness of those who do. Ordinarily, upon waking, a person, especially a working person, has to figure out what the program is for the day. But you can still take a few seconds, as Baba said, to dress your soul with Baba. This sets the tone for the day and prepares you to deal with Maya. Then, when it gets to the middle of the morning, you begin to look at your watch. Not yet 12, but you're thinking of Baba at 11:30, 11:45, until it's finally noon. And you do the same as you approach 5 p.m. And so that after a while, you develop a habit of thinking of Baba most of the time. But also, it throws you into the problem of trying to understand what Baba means by dress your soul with Baba. Where is the soul? And who is Baba? So it involves your feelings and your identity. It involves everything. So it really tunes you into Baba. I think Baba wants us to think about what he meant by dress your soul with Baba. He is already divinely free, so instead of falling back into our bodily habits and personality paradigms, we dress our soul with Baba's consciousness instead of our lower consciousness. It counteracts other trains of thought that clamor to come in and leaves them off on a sidetrack somewhere. For me, dress your soul with Baba means assert your soul's true identity, your true nature. In dressing our soul with Baba, we are accepting the Lord of Mercy and all that he is as our reality. This includes eternal salvation, security, continuous grace, divine love, purity, truth, and beauty. It is more or less capturing the composite presence of Baba, the presence of God, and allowing that presence to flood one's heart, one's inner being, rather than doting on all kinds of sanskaric interests just to keep the mind busy. In other words, we are stepping into the picture and making our own choices instead of being victimized and drifting along with what our sanskaras present to us. It is up to us as we grow spiritually to make better and better choices. We choose control. We choose to control our reactivity and keep our focus one pointedly on God or the master within, to dress our soul with Baba right away. We put our trust in him, accepting whatever he wants to provide.
Beautifully read. Wow. No, that was read with real comprehension. That was. It's the accent, I think, probably. um, so, anyone? Oh well, we got.
Rich.
Yeah, those last two paragraphs, that's what I was sort of alluding to with my other example of my mind, trying to take over my walk or my experience of Baba. And it's really, and I have to agree, Jeff, Josh, that was exquisite. You should become a professor of English or something so you can read all day long to your students, But but yeah, it's exactly right. It's not always easy to do. I've been trying to do this, and I've noticed that I'm trying to surrender stuff to Baba also, like decision making, or what do I think of this or that? And I find it particularly difficult. I don't know exactly what I'm doing or how to do that. Thank you.
Good.
Ganesh.
Hello, you can hear me?
Yeah.
So, yeah, Jai Baba. In this, there is one thing which Darwin mentioned, and of course, even in Jeff's mail, that as you approach 12, like you are looking at your watch and you see, okay, it's 11:15, now 11:30, now 11:40, and all that. But these days, many of us have in our cell phone, we have kept this alarm or reminder of 12 and 5 o'clock. So we no longer go that way. We have been like, okay, whenever it's 12, my cell phone buzzes, and that's when I remember. Whenever it's 5 o'clock, it buzzes, and then I remember. So it's not the method that, like what Darwin says, like you are actually trying to not miss that 12, and you're, as 12 is approaching, you're remembering him at 11:30, 11:45, but it's no longer happening, at least with me, and maybe with others too. So I see a difference there. I don't know, means, and if I don't keep an alarm, I'm sure I might miss many times. So that's my situation. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, and that's the new age world is just falling short there. But what happens once you kind of get the hang of this? You at any moment during the day you can just stop and dress your soul with Baba, so that it can start to fill your spare moments, even if you don't know what time it is. You know what I mean? There are just a lot of your, you're getting into your car and you start up your motor and you're in the ignition and you can just stop. So you start slipping in moments like that. So but like I say, you don't have quite the benefit that we did early on when we were doing this. We actually had to look at a physical watch. Okay.
Radha.
This really ties in with what you were just saying, Jeff. I find that I discovered that I could drive from my house to Trader Joe's and say the Master's Prayer, and it was just about the same amount of time. So I have my own, instead of, having it be at those specific times that these are talked about, I try to find times in the schedule of my life that are Baba's times, and often they are in the car when I'm going there. Other than the first thing in the morning and last thing at night, throughout the day, just normally I would get frustrated because it's like, why is this taking so long? And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, this could be a really good time to say Adi's prayer, or so. I think doing things that way with your own schedule, it's fine with me.
Yeah. And someone says, "Ma'am, how far away is Whole Foods?" Oh, it's about 3 Pavartigar prayers away. Oh, really? No. Okay. It's beautiful, though. I think Baba takes such delight in these gimmicks that we. They're beautiful.
An alarm on your watch is not all that new, at least from my experience of talking with Fred Winterfeld back in probably the 70s, because he bought a watch that had an alarm, and he would set it for 12 and 5, and that's the way he did it. But if it was something that you didn't want to do, you wouldn't have to just don't set the alarm. There's so many, as Radha was saying. I think what we need to do is experiment with all kinds of different things that appeal to you. Use your imagination, use your inventiveness and creativity. This is something that Baba, I think, really loves, especially when we're trying to think of the ways of doing what he loved the most, which was to be remembered. And I'll just say one other thing. I remember Phyllis Fredericks. I have it somewhere here. I wouldn't presume to read it at this point, so I don't have it, but in front of me. But she put out a list of 100 different times when we can remember Baba. In other words, or when she would remember Baba. She had a list of 100 things. Getting out of the car and getting into the car, different things like that.
Yeah. Yep. Closing the bathroom door.
There you go. Anything. Have fun with it.
Yeah. Great. Okay.
Bob.
Yeah, it's in the second paragraph, Darwin uses a word that was very meaningful for me when I started experimenting with this some time ago. He says, let's see, and then at noon do the same thing again, dress your soul with Baba, and then at 5 p.m. or thereabouts.
Yeah.
And because it's because sometimes I think about trying to remember Baba and it's right on noon, and I think, but sometimes it's 10 afternoon, and the mind wants to say, oh, you missed it again. Well, that's not the deal, it's a wonderful experiment. So okay.
Yeah. And there's one person down in Georgia, and we I'll say, hey, Bob and I are here at the bus waiting for you. you're kind of slow in showing up, you know. I'll do that around 12 o'clock, you know. And she'll get me at 5 o'clock. Hey, you didn't show up. And we headed out. Bob and I and the, you know, and Mara on the bus. You know, next time, you know, just be on time. Okay.
Gabriela? Gabriela?
Hey, Gabriela. Come out of the shadows.
She's muted. She's muted. Gab,
Uh-huh.
you're muted.
Maybe we'll come back. Sabine?
Go with Johannes and Sabine.
So when I came back from India last year, I tried this practice. Didn't know what it was called, but you know, somebody told me about setting the phone for lunch, and I failed miserably. I found myself at the end of the day not having thought about Baba. So I asked Baba what I could do, and he said pictures. So I started putting up little pictures that I had collected in India. So I have one at the mirror in the bathroom. So in the morning when I'm brushing my teeth, having that little conversation with Baba, I have one in the hallway. So when I walk through the flat, I just glance over. And so I have pictures everywhere now. When I cook, I have one behind my cook stove. And yeah, so I do much better. I have one clipped to my bag. So when I go out and I sit in the tramway or in the bus, I just glance over. I have one in the car. So when I'm at the traffic light, I just say, oh, how are you doing? What's going on? What do you want me to do? So yeah, that really works for me with the pictures. If I rely on my mind, doesn't work so well.
Beautiful. I mean, it's so easy to imagine Baba taking such delight in that. And then you could get, you know, Johannes could have a big Baba button so that, you know, he's walking around the house and you're always reminded.
Very good idea. Yeah.
You got Gabriella there.
Hey, Jay Baba, I'm trying to get on my phone. I'm sorry, I'm not so agile, but you can hear me, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a little poem. Actually, it's a two-parter, but I'm going to just read half of it. It's Dress My Soul with Baba too, that I wrote this past year. So it's just a little poetic take on what we're talking about, if that's okay. Slowly you seep into me through rifts and ditches. Like parched earth, I imbibe your rain in sips and gulps. And small creatures, and small creatures and tiny green leaves appear on the land. I am yours for another day. I say your name 5 times, but the echo of your presence never leaves me. I prepare to rise with sun still far from the skies. You tickle my back, so I will bend to your great amends, to your fascinating trends, even as my will sends this entreaty heaven high. May my rising be truly more than just a costume. May I feel you through my skin and veins as you take the reins for what we measure as another day.
Beautiful. Save that for the end too. We'll have it. We'll have that at the end if you're still awake.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay, let's go on to the next section. So, Ganesh, can you see well enough there?
Yes, I can see. Yeah. Be fluidic. As we dress our soul with Baba, letting go of limitations such as the personality, we move to higher levels of consciousness. When we reach and enjoy a high state of consciousness, we have an unconscious tendency to try to hold on to the experience and crystallize it. However, in spite of ourselves, it slips away and we wonder what we have to do to regain that experience. One of the secrets in the spiritual life is to be fluidic on a sustained basis. We learn to counteract our tendency to want to hold on to spiritual experiences. We no longer try to stockpile the residue of those experiences. By becoming fluidic, we establish a new rhythm. We let everything flow. When we have trust in the Master, then we place all our confidence in him so that we do not have to hold on to some object, even if it be a spiritual experience. We let the temporary experiences come and go, knowing that more will follow. But the real things, the real and abiding happiness, will become part of the regular flow. There arises a new rhythm of love, a new rhythm of what we do with our thoughts, feelings, desires, and the residue of our experience, which are our sanskaras. We are meant to be fluidic. We have a flowing current of energy, which in spiritual literature is sometimes represented by the figure 8. We usually have it flow into us to improve our ego, to give us more positions, more importance, all sorts of things that are selfish. And we mistakenly presume that to experience happiness, we have to do this. But Meher Baba points out that this is misconception. It works the other way around. As Baba says, real happiness lies in making others happy. Baba came to redirect the current toward the spiritual as part of the conquest of the unconscious. When we link our consciousness with his, our current goes out to him, is washed free, and flows back into us, where it can be expressed in the world of forms as a giving energy. So we must cooperate with him by working to change the direction of our current and to keep it flowing, especially when our reactions cause it to slow down or stop. Part of this is learning how to give everything to Baba, let everything go, and doing this on a continuous basis. Jai Baba.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, the 1 second here. You know, he doesn't go into this as much as he would on other occasions, Darwin, and but I'll kind of just share what it's been one of my practices that I kind of inherited from Darwin. He used to say he used to say that there's an invisible current in everyone, but that invisible current is going this way toward, in most people, toward I, my, me, and mine, toward self-interest. And that current has to be reversed to flow out, to flow into Baba and flow out to the world. And you know, a way you can tell about that you have this invisible current is, say, suppose I'm in an expansive mood right here, and someone comes through the door of the gateway that I've had a painful history with in the past. Suddenly the current stops. And Darwin would say, if you let it stop and don't flow toward that person, you diminish yourself by that much. And in many ways we don't flow out to the various individuals in this world, and we make our world smaller and smaller. So, but my experience is just to kind of, I've put this into practice for the last 50 years. Say I wake up in the morning and I'm invariably groggy, and with Baba's name I start to get that flow going. So I wake up, I'm basically in a stalled state, you know, and so with Baba's name and centering in Baba, you get that flowing, so that by 8:30 in the morning when I go into work, I'm flowing with Baba's presence rather than, you know, instead of letting my day be colored by the grogginess I wake up with. So it's about being proactive. I mean, when I first got into Baba, I thought, well, I thought that, you know, this type of thing would just kind of happen automatically. But with Darwin, you know, he really kind of brought home, you can be proactive about changing your inner experience and as a result, your outer experience. But so when I'm in a state of flowing, I'm just describing my practice, I don't have to ask where Baba is, because Baba is the flow. And I don't have to ask myself, what should I do? The flow, if I get it going well enough, leads to what to do. And the day, rather than being just ordinary, it gets a certain carbonation to it. It has a little timeless, spacious quality when there's flow. But like often in the afternoon, I begin to stall out. And when I stall out and that current isn't flowing, then Baba seems like he's over there somewhere. He's not like in, you know, and I don't know what to do. The flow, you know, normally shows me what to do, but when that flow stalls out, my mind comes down and tells me various things I ought to do, none of which is worth following, believe me. And then the day becomes very ordinary. You know, the carbonation is taken out. You know, it's like a beer on the next day on the window ledge after the party. You know, it's just flat. So it you know, but it gives carbonation. But there are various ways to get this flow going, and it isn't just necessarily saying Baba's name. I mean, like say, if I kind of start to flag and there's a little kid there and he wants to play, I'll go and join him, and that gets the energy flowing, you know. Or you can call your grandchild or whatever, and whatever gets that flow going. You read Rumi or whatever. It's very individual. But Darwin was very good. Keep an eye on that flow. It's at the heart level, you know. Are you flowing? Am I flowing? Am I stalled? Am I receding? Most Baba lovers don't recede. A lot of people do recede. But anyway, that's been my practice. And you can, like say, proactively also basically have a certain ongoing cheerfulness, because the flow actually creates a natural cheerfulness. So anyway, that's my practice.
Rich.
On that note, Jeff, when you were talking, it made me think about, for me, with this experience, this flow outwards, I think I used to, when I'd interact with people, I would have that selfishness impression. You know, how am I supposed to react to this person, or what am I doing? And I'm working on it, but over the past a few years, I've begun, and it's with Baba's help, has clearly made this clear to me, but I'm a novice at it. But so I begin to see, well, who is this person I'm talking to? What do they need? What are all the parameters of their big life? They have a life experience, and I'm supposed to be listening to who they are now, not thinking what I am in their presence, you know? Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, the killer is, and I learned it from the Mandali, the killer is always self-reference. The self-reference, like, how do they think about me? How do they like what I'm saying? Instead of getting over completely into the other person. Yeah, very good. Okay.
Marian?
Oh, yes. Oh, thank you. I'm commenting out of a place of surprise and enthusiasm. And that is in having this read to me. I had not read this before tonight, about that figure 8. You know, Darwin mentions this, and that's in my core energetic training. We would take the 8, a big 8 symbol, and put it over our bodies, and see how our energy is flowing. Because when it comes up through the earth, Mother Earth. After all, in the gross world, we're on planet Earth. And the energy comes up from Mother Earth through the feet, the lower foot chakras, up through the body, and then it crosses over at the waist like that figure 8. And then it goes up through the crown, up into the Father Sky. Then it comes down through the crown chakra, through the heart, and it crosses over again at the midsection and then flows down into Mother Earth. And on this gross sphere, we are these little beings walking around on this planet as transformers of energy between Father Sky and Mother Earth. So when I saw that figure 8, I thought, oh my gosh, it's the infinity sign. And that's what connects us to infinity while we're in the gross sphere. So I open to the highest that comes through Mother Earth and Father Sky. So I'm just trying to express my enthusiasm and delight at reading that. It was so profound for me. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, a lot of those men and women before they got heard of Baba, they experimented with all of these things, and and Darwin came out of that tradition.
Yeah, yeah.
And then Baba, kind of simplified everything. What time is it? My watch is somewhere else.
It's 11:15, Jeff.
11:15?
Yes.
I think, why don't we stop now? Here's one thing I wanted to say is for the next, hopefully 7 weeks, I'm going to be gone. And we've kind of lined up some people, most of them who have met Baba, and they're going to share their experiences. So like next week, it'll be Erwin Luck. And, he had some delightful times with Baba, and he's a great ambassador for giving a flavor of what it's like to be around Baba. And there's a Merwin Mehta, who grew up in Erich's ancestral home. He's a very special guy. He met Baba as a kid, and and his mother, his whole family. I mean, he's part of Erich's family. Let's see, Merwin Mystery. He has some great stories to tell. So I don't know just what weeks they're going to follow because we got to find out when they're available. Nashawin Alavala, who met Baba as a kid and then through his teenage years. Goer, she has her story of her father, who was one of the Mandali, and then she has her own experiences. And so anyway, just be looking for who's going to speak on the next Sunday and the Sunday following. So
Jeff,
yeah.
Who's going to help you send out each weekly email?
I know we gotta.
Go here. Well, go here. Raise your hand.
Yeah, but what did that link that I sent to you go, or did that work?
I asked you a question right after that, Jeff. I'm not sure because if I put it in the mail as a new mail, does it automatically have everybody's address attached to that? Because I'm not familiar with that.
Go ahead. Yeah, it will go to the group, but right now, only Jeff and Margie and Peter have that access. I can give you that access.
Oh, good.
I'm sorry, say that again, Jason. You can give me what?
So right now, Jeff and Margie can send the email to the group.
Yeah.
But I can also give you access so that you can also send.
That's what I meant because he sent me the link, but I wasn't sure if it would work for me. So because Jeff has asked me to be host for the next few sessions, not here.
I shall give you the access.
Okay, so would you please be in touch with me then, Jaysima? Do you have my contact?
I have your email ID.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So
good, fantastic. That we deliberated over this, and it's great. Yeah.
I'm not a computer aficionado at all, so just the opposite. So as long as you're there, Jaysima, then I'm fine.
Was there anything else that we needed to, in regard to the late night chats for the next weeks?
Yeah, we already miss you.
Oh, this is I got my twin brother actually doing this. He's Jeff already left 3 weeks ago. You guys didn't even, no. So let's see, let's have Gabriella's poem if she's still there, and then a period of silence, and then maybe a final quote of Baba's.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You can. Okay. All right. So take a little poetic license. I'll read the two short ones. I'll read the full
Well, what
poem.
about the one that you read to us?
Yeah, I'm going to. Yeah.
Okay, good.
That was half of it. Okay, I'll read just that. I just read what I read. So it's dress my soul with Baba. Slowly you seep into me through rifts and ditches. Like parched earth, I imbibe your rain in sips and gulps. And small creatures and tiny green leaves appear on the land. I am yours for another day. I say your name 5 times, but the echo of your presence never leaves me. I prepare to rise with sun still far from the sky. You tickle my back, so I will bend to your great amends, to your fascinating trends, even as my will sends this entreaty heaven high. May my rising be truly more than just a costume. May I feel you through my skin and veins as you take the reins for what we measure as another day.
Jai Baba. Wow, I don't know how you do that, Gabriella. That's so lovely.
Thank you, Baba.
Yeah. So, anyone have sometimes Goer has a final quote.
Yes, I do have Jeff. Another short one, but this one is one of my favorites. I want you to make me yours as you are eternally already mine. Jai Baba.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, well, any loose change here? Any scraps? Anything to come up?
I think that I'd like to encourage everybody here who shows up weekly to be supportive to Go Hair, and Go Hair, if you want to help out in any way, write to Go Hair. We'll be gone for a couple weeks, but when we come back, we would be back in her back pocket.
Thank you. When are you coming back, Diane?
We're getting back October 21st, and I don't know if we can join the next night, depending on our sleep.
But
the next week, the 1st in November.
Oh, okay.
That each one of these people that we've chosen are open to to questions. Don't hesitate, I mean, they were with Baba, and ask them what it was like, and what, from the different camera angles, I'm hoping to get Sheila Fenster And she, you know, because she spent so much time with Baba as a little girl. And there's a beautiful book that she wrote. I don't know if you folks have read it, called Growing Up with God. And did she ask Baba great questions? Questions that grown-ups would be kind of hesitant to ask. And it's beautiful how Baba answered her. But hey, Ken.
Hey, Jeff. Just wanted to wish you a safe journey, Nan and you. And I imagine you'll think of us all when you're at the Samadhi, right?
Yeah, I will. I will. Actually, I take a list of the nearby communities so they get covered, and an extended community, and then I will remember you folks. In fact, if I can tune in, I will. You know, I mean, if I can, it's difficult to get onto online over there in
Yeah.
the center, but sometimes it is possible. So I will see your faces, but probably the reception will be poor. Yeah. And then Ganesh will be there anyway, you know, I'll see him alive. And I'll see Sonober and Dinku, some of the people.
Did you see the video with all the rain in the last day or so? By the way, there's flooding at the Samadhi and in town.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
Yeah.
There was a river underneath the highway up in Nagar. A lot of rain.
Wow.
Hey, so anything else to mention? Let's see. Oh, we got Yasmin here. She's also. I'll see her there. And yeah. Anything? Anybody? Something?
Wishing you well. Wishing you well.
Inspired?
Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful time in India, Jeff. It's Janet. Just
good.
Thinking of you in the most wonderful light, doing your figure 8.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But there, you don't even have to work at this stuff. It's just handed to you on a platter.
Yes, because this is Marion, and I'm always interested again in the new science, because of Baba bringing together metaphysics and science, that the leading edge scientists are now discovering that thought travels faster than the speed of light. So you'll be in my thoughts very gratefully and in a loving way.
Good. Thank you.
This may be a longer question, perhaps to be saved for when you came back. I've only been to India once, and Erich and Mera was not there, but Mani and Erich and Balnatu, and I think Goher was there, and a number of others. I'm curious what it's like now that the Mandali are gone.
Well, I'll tell you my experience. I mean, I've been every year since 71, and the Mandali were all there, and I felt grief for a while as they passed on, but eventually, what you may find now is what I find is all the vacancies left by the Mandali, Baba has filled. Incredibly. Some of the people that think, oh, I don't know, the Mandali aren't there anymore, won't be the same. They are actually having the most powerful experience. It's so that you won't feel that. Baba will fill you to the brim.
The people, had they met Baba, or are they just telling about the stories? How does it work?
There, you mean?
Yeah.
Now, somehow you are so kind of filled that you're aware of the interior, and then whatever exchanges of give and take of love is just icing on the cake.
Nice. Do you still go over to Mandali Hall every day?
Yeah, I mean, when you go to Meherabad, you go to Mandali Hall, but you can be in that atmosphere. But Devana shares stories in Mandali Hall, kind of a lot of the stories that Eric shared. She remembers them quite well.
Nice.
And then there's Alan up there. I mean, he was just there not long ago. So yeah.
Yeah, hey, I wanted to say that I was there in February and we were visiting Meherabad, and I was in Mara's garden and I was looking out and I was feeling and I was thinking, you know, Baba, I was like saying to myself, you know, Baba, I really, this is incredible to be here. I can't believe it. I just wish I could have been here when, of course, when you were here, but also, you know, when the Monolith were here. Would have been so lovely if they could be here, and not sooner than maybe 5 to 10 seconds later, I hear, you know, a little bit of commotion to my left, and I'm like, what's going on here? And I look and I see that people are kind of crowded around an older woman, and she's got a white scarf around her head, and they're saying, Hilla, come here, come this way. That's like, da, da, da. They're talking to Hilla, and I'm thinking, are they talking about Hilla Kotwal? That's not possible. Like she would have to be like at least 100 years old or something. That's impossible. And so then I walked over and I looked at her and I was like, oh my God. And I was like, and she was like, and she was in the middle of telling people like, I remember when Baba was right here and and we were living here, and she was talking about living with Baba, you know, and being with Baba and this being like their home. And but the one thing that hit me was that she looked up at the house and sort of stopped and was staring, and everybody went silent, and then she just looked at everybody and she said, this will be my last time here. This will be my last time. And we all felt the gravity of that moment. It was like to look into her eyes of somebody that was looking at the beloved. It was like I was like, it was really intense for me. And but anyways, yeah. And then seeing her at the Samadhi, and there was all these people that were sort of celebratory, and you know, the songs were going on, and it felt like slow motion because I was looking at her and she was sitting right in front of the entryway, just looking at his tomb, and just really still and just very focused. And all these people are like, everybody's like really happy and going on, and I'm like, wow, oh my God, I'm looking at someone, this is their last time at Samadhi. This is the last. I was just like, I cannot believe him. And I was sitting behind her and I could feel that. I watched her go in and bow down for the last time, come out, kiss the threshold and come back. And she started walking away. And I felt this sense like, oh God, I really want to say something to her, but I feel so embarrassed. She doesn't even know me. I don't understand why I have this feeling. Why do I want to say something to her? I feel like I need to say something to her. And suddenly I kid with you not, I had this sharp pain like in my butt. And I was like, whoa, and I got up and I like stood up and I was like, oh God. And I just like from that motion ran over and I ran and right when I turned that corner, she was just there by herself and she was looking up at me. And there was nobody else around. And I was like, excuse me, ma'am, I didn't want you to leave without saying a proper goodbye. And she said, what? And then she pulled me in close. And so now I'm in her ear. And I said, I didn't want you to leave without saying a proper goodbye. And then she just gave this beautiful, warm smile and had her hand on my face. And we were just sharing this moment. And I'm looking deep into her. She looked deep. And we was just Baba. It was just Baba, Baba, Baba. And there was the grief on some level of seeing a human being letting go. We're letting, all these years she's letting go of her sister, her friends, all these people, everything. And then the deeper level is like celebratory that she's actually going to Baba. she's actually, I could feel Baba, right there. And she gave me this embrace, and she said that she motioned that her throat, she can't talk. And that was it. It was like Baba, without me asking, answering that quiet longing. Yeah.
Yeah, she was one of she and her sister were the daughters of Baba's night watchman. So they got to be up on the hill with all the women, Elizabeth and Kitty and Arena and Mara and Mani, running around up there. That was a favorite time of their life, and all the animals that were there, and all that coming to a close. Yeah.
One of my favorite books.
Yes, mine too.
Yeah. He gives the ocean. Yeah. Hey, well, I better let you guys, kind of go off somewhere. I will be thinking of you, and I'll try to I'll see if I can get some reception over there and get online, and then I'll quickly run to the tomb and remember all of you. It'll be in the morning there. Yeah. Okay, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, Jeff.
Have a great trip, Jeff. Looking forward to seeing you here.
See you soon, Dinku.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. All
Jai
enjoy.
Baba.
Enjoy.
Baba.